Hey everybody, it's Matt here, and we are still in the spooky month of Halloween in July. But there is so much that happened at Anime Expo today that we're going to talk about the Kamen Rider section in this video and the Super Sentai section in a future video coming out tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of a late night video, and because of the Halloween in July stuff that's going on, as you can tell, the lighting is a bit spooky because we're going to have some spooky stuff, some more spooky stuff coming out later on this month. And also, by the way, there's also some trailers as well that came out for both Kamen Rider Kuuga and 5-Man that I will be doing reaction videos to later on this week. I will have to have better lighting for those so I can see what the heck's going on in that. But we can actually take a look at some of the stuff that went on during this panel, specifically, again, the Kamen Rider one for this video. And I want to thank so much the Twitter user Josh Knight first, and also Twitter user Schmullis1, and I will link them both down below. Please give them a follow. They both did live tweets of the event, so because of that, we're actually able to talk about this and see what happened during it. Now, if you follow the video that came out earlier today that I did just last night, there were some quote-unquote leaks that happened from Shout Factory's official Twitter, and I can now show you the actual tweet itself because I did find it. So this tweet initially was tweeted out by Shout Factory's Twitter, then deleted, and then the internet went wild over it. At least Toku Twitter did. So because of that, people were talking about it so much, I thought it was a viral marketing stunt. Apparently, though, during the panel, they were actually quoted as saying, I want to make sure that I get the specific quote here from the specific rep. It was a Shout Factory rep saying that they underestimated the demand for physical releases for Kamen Rider, which I find baffling. Not so much that I understand that they are going to be a bit conservative because you are dealing with physical media. You do have to store that. So I understand going a bit conservative when it comes to how much, the negotiations with Toei and how many copies they're getting. But underestimating it, I do feel a little confused about, because, I mean, with the rise of, you don't want to tell this to Toei specifically because they're not the biggest fans of reverse importing, but just generally, though, when you look at the rise of region-free Blu-ray players, or being able to turn your Blu-ray player into a region-free player, while this is a US release only, I'm sure there are people from the UK that are going to be able to buy this and actually import it and play it even in the UK, and other regions as well, of course. But either way, though, looking at, talking about this news by news, breaking it down piece by piece, looking over at Schmullis's tweet here, we can actually see that there was some promotion of some new figures. Now, this isn't really my jam, but still want to break it down for y'all. So SH Figuarts, which I do have at least like one or two, but in this case, though, because Futo Pi is, of course, coming out rather soon, we actually got a release date on that, we'll be talking about in a second. Because of that, they're actually releasing one for Kamen Rider Double, and I gotta say, even though it's not my thing, it looks beautiful. Also, as well, there was a Q Posket. I've never heard of these. They look very, I think it's Nendroid. I can't think of the exact term, but either way, they are very cute. They are definitely based on the style of both of Philip and Shotaro from the anime in particular. So not so much their original designs from Kamen Rider Double, but still pretty cool as well. Now, I did a reaction video on Black Sun, specifically 2 trailers that came out rather recently. And when I did that video, I saw that it said that it would actually be coming out in autumn, and it would be on Amazon Prime. We have now learned that it actually will be coming to the US later this year. No announcement on Shin, but I highly doubt that if we're going to get Shin Ultraman being released by Subaraya later on this month, by the way, late July, it's actually coming out in US theaters, so check your local listings. But when you have that happening, it's kind of strange to me that you wouldn't have Shin Kamen Rider. I understand they don't want to maybe talk about it just yet, but I imagine we're going to get it at some point, even if it's just in a few theaters here and there throughout the US. But of course, that is pure speculation. Now, they were also talking about the official, now it is officially discussed, released, promoted of Kamen Rider Kuuga on Blu-ray. And I'm very happy to be proven wrong, because when I looked at the initial box art from the leak, it just kind of, I don't know, there's a vibe that came from it that felt very much like it would be for DVD, not Blu-ray. Obviously, pure speculation, and I'm happy to be wrong, because the Blu-ray looks amazing. I've seen the trailer already. Again, we'll be reacting to it specifically in another video later on this week, but it still looks gorgeous. And what I am very happy to say is not only was it announced, also it's saying that it's arriving September 20th, 2022. So that's coming up real soon, right around my birthday too. and the fact that initially, if you end up pre-ordering it, which by the way, the pre-orders are up right now, links down below, you can pre-order it directly through Shout Factory. What I enjoy is that even though it is $60, it's actually on sale right now, so it's actually $51, which I think is very reasonable for what they're giving you. They're giving you all 48 episodes. Sadly, no HBV, so sorry, no Hyper Battle video, and no, I think there was like a re-edited New Year's special I talked about in the last video that we did, the breaking news video. No New Year's special, sorry to say, but still really cool to have this. And if you pre-order it now, it does come with a poster, but I assume that's going to be, if they were not expecting the demand, I would very much imagine that by the time you and I get to it, there's probably not going to be a poster. What is pretty cool, that is, no matter if you pre-order it or not, there are optional Grongi subtitles. Now, if you've heard of Kuuga, but this is your first time really kind of delving into it a little bit and you want to buy this Blu-ray set, remember that it is still available, being subbed on, officially subbed on either Tubi or Tokushoutsu. If you're in the US, you can watch them legally there. But still, though, when it comes to the Grongi, they are the monsters, not just the monsters of the week, but the general monster faction that Kuuga is fighting against. So no spoilers whatsoever, just that the general premise that he is fighting them. Godai Yusuke, who ends up obtaining the powers of Kuuga, kind of like a very much like a Yu-Gi-Oh kind of thing, if you're familiar with that. Just not so much that is another persona awakened like with Yugi and Yama-Yugi, but that the powers are ancient and they are being used to fight against the bad guys. Now, the bad guys, again being Grongi, they have a interesting language that I believe, if I remember correctly, the original writers actually took Japanese and flipped it around a little bit so that it was decipherable, and people actually were deciphering it in Japan while watching it back in the day. But it is still its own language. So when this came out on DVD initially, there were subtitles for the Grongi. Subtitles, DVD initially, of course, in Japan. And so when it came to actually streaming on Tokushoutsu and Tubi, they just kind of threw them in there. They didn't have the ability to turn them off. I was fine with it as someone who's watched it before, but in those little subtitles, there are spoilers for future plans because the way, again, without spoiling overall, Grongi are talking in their own language. Eventually, they start speaking in English, and then characters in this, or in Japanese, English subtitles, and then characters throughout the show are trying to decipher it. And then once they find out what their plans are, then all of a sudden you're sitting back and going, oh my goodness, now we know what they've been planning. So when you look at the way the show is structured, you would want the Grongi subtitles to be optional, which I find fascinating that they're able to do this, because when it comes to multiple subtitle tracks on Blu-rays, don't usually happen because from what I've read, the kind of making the long explanation very, very short, when you look at how subtitles are done on Blu-rays versus how they're authored on DVDs, it is much more difficult to have multiple subtitle tracks. Also, by the way, the set is going to be 7 discs, which is amazing because each disc is going to have 7 episodes on it, which is going to be great because I've seen some, I'm going to call out Funimation here just slightly, like their stuff, but on DVD, when it came to their One Piece early DVDs where it was like 13 episodes for one on one actual like set, there would be like 8 episodes per disc. So it'd be like, oh, you know, One Piece season 1 part 1 or something, or part 2, and 13 episodes over only 2 discs. And when you have that many episodes on a disc, and this can even happen with Blu-ray as well, it can definitely mess up the video quality. So 7 episodes per disc sounds really cool to me personally. So again, coming September 20th, 2022, real close. You can get it through Shout Factory's website. Again, linked it down below right now. So moving on to the manga. Yes, if you don't know, Kamen Rider Kuuga does have a manga. It is licensed through Stonebot and Titan Comics. Not throwing them under the bus, just want to say that I've never heard of them before. So I was at first a little trepidatious. I was like, I've never heard of this company. But now we've gotten some more information on it, and I am a little bit more hyped. So looking at it, it's coming out November 2022. Again, very close. And it's only the first volume as of now. Also, if you didn't hear about it, there's actually a Kamen Rider 01 comic, a US comic, that is actually coming out in the fall. And it's going to have an original storyline and villain. And it actually takes place in between certain episodes of the show. So if you've watched the show either through streaming, either on Blu-ray or other ways, you can actually end up following through this comic. And it's the writer, by the way, is Brandon Easton, who's also written Marvel's Agent Carter, Overwatch 2, and Vampire Hunter D, Message from Mars. That's interesting. And the artist is Henry Prasetya, who actually worked on Power Rangers, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern, referring to Green Lantern DC Comics. So obviously this is all comic book stuff, but very interesting to see. And apparently the writer, specifically Easton, is actually doing some dad jokes for Aruto. So that's going to be be very interesting. One in particular that I found hilarious. Aruto, this is the quote. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere. So that I actually like that one. And also, by the way, moving on to Futo Pi, we've actually learned that it is coming out. So when I did the reaction video for that trailer, the newest Futo Pi trailer, not the one that just dropped, but there's one that dropped about a week or so ago. A lot of trailers coming out recently. For that one in particular, it said that it was coming up in August, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, that's really soon. And so in Japan it's premiering July 31st, but because of time zones and whatnot, in the US it is premiering on Crunchyroll, English subbed, August 1st, which when I heard August, I thought, yeah, maybe late August. August 1st, that is amazing. So, also, by the way, the director of Futo Pi, Yosuke Kabashima, mentioned how Double is actually his favorite Heisei rider, Sky Rider his favorite shower rider, and talking about how he really wanted to make it like Kamen Rider Double. Anyone who's a fan of Kamen Rider Double will definitely love this show and actually be able to really feel like it's the characters. Instead of, I would say, come to life, come to animation, I guess I would say. But what I do find very odd is throughout all of this, somehow they did not announce that Kamen Rider Double is coming to either streaming or DVD/Blu-ray. That is very confusing to me. I thought that this would be the moment that they would do it, but no, there has been no discussion of that whatsoever, and I find it extremely baffling. Only because of the fact that, look, I love that as someone who is, quote-unquote, in the know, as someone who goes, oh, watching Double? I couldn't have because it's not legally available in the US. As someone who's in that position, yes, sure, I can watch this show, but I find it absurd that they are promoting this so heavily. This seems very, very, very heavily promoted in the US, and yet anyone who's trying to jump into this for the first time saying, oh man, so how do I watch this as a sequel? Clearly, they're all saying it's a sequel. How do I watch the original? The fact that we have to slide them links is just absurd to me. It doesn't really click. Like, you would think that it would either be delayed heavily, like the show is released in the US, they just wouldn't be talking about it, or it would just never come out here. And the fact that it actually is kind of a head scratcher for me personally. I'm happy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy. I just want to be happy for everyone here in the community. So it would be like if the manga for Kuuga was released, although the manga, to be fair, is an adaptation for Kuuga, not even a sequel. But heck, it would be like Futo Pi, the manga, getting released, and just no way to watch the Kamen Rider Double, like the original live-action version. Very big head-scratcher for me, personally. But the episode was actually shown, and I have no clips of it. We're not posting anything like that. I haven't seen any of that online, so you can find that elsewhere. But I do want to say, though, that from what I heard, it is amazing. Oh, they showed both episodes, by the way. So they're amazing. The animation is incredible, and the way Double transformed was fantastic. So thankfully, it was good from what I've heard. And again, oddly, the panel ended right after episode 2. So no discussion of Double at all in the US. Just, it's a head scratcher because you would think, I mean, obviously, yes, Toei has to protect their copyright and whatnot, but they're not embracing fan-made works, fan-made subtitles. They're not embracing any of that because, understandably, I get why they wouldn't as a company, but at this point, there's kind of like a wink and a nod. It's very strange. But either way, though, doesn't mean that I'm not hyped, because I am, because with everything we've heard so far in this entire panel, again, also a little confused that there was that mistake earlier. And another thing, too, that I should mention, I wanted to mention leading up to this, but it escaped me a bit through all the ranting, is that the reason why there was a quote-unquote leak, not specifically from Tokushoutsu when they took their picture of their of their booth, but from fans also taking pictures of the booth. There was one earlier today that actually showed a QR code saying, hey, scan this and you can actually pre-order Kamen Rider Kuuga. And people were trying to do it and they weren't able to. It was very strange that when this panel's happening at 10:30 ET, but actually in California time, 3 hour behind, so it was actually 7:30. So the panel's happening at 7:30, but they have the booth there all day with stuff that is essentially spoiling what's coming later, and even having links to stuff that I assume, of course, they're gonna have that same booth on Sunday. And like maybe they were trying to plan it to be earlier, but then something happened, and so they had to put it, you know, a bit later in the day. But very strange to have all of these things set up, all these links and whatnot, and pictures and all that stuff, to stuff that they're going to reveal later, as if like it's the year, you know, as if when I got into this stuff, and I don't want to make people who are older than me feel like I'm belittling them, but and their struggle when watching Toku, but I came into the fandom in 2009. So yeah, you wouldn't have had stuff kind of go on Twitter. There wasn't even a Twitter in 2009, if I remember correctly. So this stuff wouldn't have gone this viral, you know, through Twitter, through YouTube and stuff like that, if they did this then. But we're in the year 2022. All right, this is the year of our Lord and Savior Kazuma Kiryu. So when you look at that, it is just very strange that they would have this up all day, and you know that they wouldn't expect, or maybe that, again, I think they did expect, but if they truly did not expect this to go viral, go online, people talk about it, and it then go to links that just didn't work at the time, that is kind of a head scratcher as well. But despite all of that, I am very hyped to see where we are right now with Kamen Rider releases in the US. And tomorrow, we're going to talk about some Super Sentai stuff. Not too much, but just enough. And it's real good. So, love you all, take care, and see ya.